Who to the day to the who, the 1 and 0, the unbelievable. It's incredible. I'm getting a little corny, Matt, but I don't care. The excitement is filling my soul so thoroughly that we've decided to do a podcast. You are currently enjoying your lunch, and we just had
Arby's.
Yeah, we had to
That's
get
right.
We had to get on and talk about it. So while you chew through your roast beef sandwich, that's going to bring a smile to your face, but an even bigger smile is on our face already from the Cincinnati Bengals opening day win. This is the first time since November 17th, 2018. I was a sophomore in college at the time, Matt. The 3 a.m. Coney didn't exist. I had not yet had a legal drink. That's the last time the Cincinnati Bengals had a winning record in the NFL, and they have one on a Monday. How about that, Matt? How about that?
There you go. Now you can legally go celebrate all day, Victory Monday. Just get as drunk as you want. That was a fantastic win. It looked a little iffy there in the middle, especially giving up that, 10, 14-point lead and going into overtime. But all of the things that the Bengals usually do not have go their way, it was like three things went their way. Even that replay, that review at the end where you weren't sure if that was a fumble or not, went the Bengals' way, helped them get the win. Joe Burrow looked fantastic. I'm on cloud nine. Bengals fans should be very happy today.
Well, one of my good buddies, Max McDoulan, he was in the stadium, and he said that the Vikings were coming down to score, and they sit at the same end zone, and he had the same group of people together that was together during the January 2016 playoff game, and they were sitting in the exact same seats.
Oh, man.
And the Vikings were coming down to score a field goal at the same goalpost that the Steelers scored, and they all collapsed into Bengal fandom. They all collapsed. It was like this collapse that happened. And then an eerily similar 50-50 replay review that Jeremy Hill had happens to Dalvin Cook. It flips the other way. A 33-yard field goal after a clutch fourth down from your quarterback. And obviously what changes the story for Max and so many people in the stadium and for all of us at home, what was different about this script, and I give Max all the credit for this because this is what he was driving back to Chicago from Cincinnati last night, and he was on the phone and saying, in the stadium, it felt like a movie we had seen 100 times before, a movie we'd seen 1,000 times before, and it felt like deja vu, and it felt like it was happening again. And the only thing, other than the uniforms, that was different about this movie was the main character, was Joe Burrow. And that is why this movie script is about to go a lot differently over the next 15 years than the last 50 years of Bengals football has gone. Because we have that guy, we have that dude, we have the man, Joe Burrow. And he did it, I think he's only at about 70% of what he's going to be this year, Matt. I think he's going to get faster, healthier, and stronger as the year moves along.
Yeah, and he still looks good. And if you didn't like, the recasting of Joe Burrow for the Bengals quarterback, you had rerun of Andy Dalton during primetime to watch if later in the day if you wanted to. That went about as well as we've always seen Andy Dalton primetime days ago. So very good to have the new movie, the new franchise, the new stripes, the new day, the Joe Burrow with his new shiny leg. He looks great. He made some great throws. That throw to Jamar Chase down the sideline was perfect. He got sacked, 5, 6 times. That wasn't great. Got up limping one of those times, but still was able to avoid some of that contact and make some good decisions during the game.
Yeah, 5 sacks. None of them came from the tackle positions, though. And the Vikings defensive line is very, very good. So I'm not going to hit the red panic button that Joe Burrow is going to take 50 odd sacks this year. If you listen to any of our preseason shows, Matt, I was saying I still expect this line to give up 30, 35 sacks. And that means they're going to give up 5 sacks against a really great defensive line every now and then. But, we knew the middle of this offensive line was going to be a problem. We did not expect Trey Hopkins to be this bad. He got a 36 Pro Football Focus grade on the offensive line.
That low? That's not good.
As a whole, the Bengals offensive line got a 50 in pass blocking, but Riley Reif and Jonah Williams combined for 0 pressures allowed. So massive positive and then a massive negative on the other end, but we're going to have to see him against a few pretty good defenses here. And so we'll really get to find out just how much of a liability the middle of that offensive line will be. Remember, Trey Hopkins coming off an ACL as well. But let's talk about, I've been watching Jamar Chase do the best gritty in celebration history over and over and over again. And wide receiver is my favorite position in the NFL because of how fun and flair and flash it can be. I always like Chad. I love Chad. And when we got T.O. and, I loved A.J. Green so much that I don't think anybody would ever replace Joe Burrow as my favorite Cincinnati Bengal. But if Jamar Chase keeps making big plays like that and having as much swagger that he does on the field, and I think he's got a real chance to be one of the more exciting Bengals we've ever had. And how about that, Mike Florio? Why don't you take all 5 of those catches, and why don't you take your bad journalism and your bad headlines and your bad opinions and your hate of Cincinnati, and why don't you roll it up into a nice little apology article so that we can all get off your ass? Because that right there is the number one reason why you don't run your mouth in the preseason about a top 5 pick. And the only reason they did it, Matt, was because it was Cincinnati, because they felt like they weren't going to get a bite back, and they felt like that if it goes right for the Bengals in week 1, they can just turn around and go, we had all reason to be concerned, Because if they did something like this to the Giants or the Cowboys or one of the major brands in the NFL, God forbid if they did something like this to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they would be getting hell from now until the end of the season. And so a half of me wants to be, my mother was like, you really shouldn't carry these type of grudges. You should really let it go. Let the play speak for itself. But it's really difficult because of the lack of effort that the national media really put into this team. They were completely blown away by what happened on Sunday, and they shouldn't have been, because nothing that happened really surprised anybody that's been following this team, Matt.
Right. And anyone that knew anything that's been happening with the Bengals, and I mean, they tried it last year with Joe Burrow. He doesn't want to be in Cincinnati. He's not going to be nearly as good. Blew them out, shut them up. Jamar Chase, same thing. It's almost like I would not be surprised if the Bengals were pushing that, or if they're like, hey, Jamar, you know what? Just like miss a few of them. Just like, don't even open your fingers. Just like let it hit you in the face.
Yeah, close your eyes.
And then just like, and then week 1, we're going to practice the entire time. Jamar, just keep your eyes closed, because, you're doing fantastic, but we gotta give them something. But we cannot let them forget it. If they are going to try to push that and then be so surprised that it worked out, and the Bengals don't look like absolute garbage, well, fucking surprise.
Yeah, and probably the biggest sin was NFL.com and Gregg Rosenthal. I mean, how embarrassed is that guy on this Monday? Joe Burrow, 20 of 27, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Could have had 3 touchdowns, and he had a 75% completion percentage, Matt, and he spiked the ball twice. He should have been 20 of 25 for an 80+% completion. If you take away the 2 spikes, he has a 137 rating on the day, which is his career high, and it's against what will be a top 10 Vikings defense. So, I mean, Gregg Rosenthal ranked Joe Burrow as the 26th ranked quarterback in the league, behind Tua, behind Trevor Lawrence, behind Zach Wilson. He ranked Joe Burrow behind Zach Wilson. And
one of the dumbest fucking things.
And I just think that it's unbelievable to me, because here's my rationale for why it's unbelievable, Matt. If you go back to last year, the same list from Gregg Rosenthal and list just like it, they would not rank Joe Burrow ahead of most people that were veteran quarterbacks or second-year quarterbacks, because he hasn't taken a snap yet, and it would not be fair. And what do when it turns around the next season and now it's the Bengals quarterback they can rank lower? Oh, well, we're projecting the rookies to be better. Where'd that rule go? Where did this standard go that you rank rookies lower because they haven't played yet? Oh, because it's a Cincinnati Bengal. And it's become embarrassing to this point to where if the Bengals somehow win the AFC North, it will be Matt, you and I should spend hours collecting all the clips from this past summer. And we should just repeat it on big boards around Cincinnati. We should put it on billboards. I mean, because they should really feel, and it's not because I don't want people to have a bad opinion of my team. It's that I want everybody to do their job and do their research. And it was very evident, Matt, that a lot of people didn't do that this summer.
I mean, we could do that. I could set up an automated tweet bot that every time that they post, it just responds with every negative thing that they've said about the Bengals. I mean, children now on Twitter love to ratio, so maybe we can just have a ratio bot.
Yeah, a ratio
and
bot.
Just call these idiots out. Just be like, oh, wow. I mean, Florio tried to do it coming up into this weekend and showing some of the Bengals positives. He was just kind of like throwing it out there as Jamar Chase didn't look as bad. Joe Burrow did pretty good. And it's like, well, people don't forget, and this is not an apology. This is not enough to make up for how terrible you have been.
Yeah, and where
to the Bengals and just in general.
Yeah, and where's Booger McFarland? Booger McFarland suggested last year, when he is an LSU alum, I want to remind everybody, so he has full capability to contact people that know Joe Burrow personally. Booger McFarland came out and said that Joe Burrow should not play this season. That was a legitimate national opinion, that Joe Burrow should sit out the 2021 season. And I need everybody to remember that. So, because this week it's going to be...
I mean, honestly, with Booger McFarland, well, what's that quote? It's like, don't take advice from people you wouldn't, or don't take criticism from people you wouldn't accept advice from.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So Booger McFarland, if everything that he said I did the opposite, I would live a pretty good life. So I am fine. I am fine with him with doing the absolute opposite of what Booger McFarland says. I'm not going to take anything that he says as a wow. That is a very good point. I don't think I've ever said that to anything he's ever said.
Well, let's turn back to positives a second before we talk about the Reds, because it'll dive right back into potential negativity. How about the crowd? I mean, the crowd literally changed the game. And I don't remember the last time that's happened at Paul Brown Stadium. In fact, I think you have to go back to the 2015 playoff game to even mention the crowd and Bengals games. And that's just because they threw beer at Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, it's like, it's a real thing. And I think it's the Joe Burrow effect. I think the fact that he's on the team not only makes all the players more excited, but it certainly makes the fans in the stadium more excited. And Max, who was at the game, his report to me was that everybody got pissed off because there was 35% of the stadium was Vikings fans, and they did a skull chant, a big skull chant before the Bengals came out, and that kind of ticked off the whole crowd. And so they were pretty into the game. I think it's both Joe Burrow, opening day, all the new music that they put in, and all the Vikings fans there. It led to an impactful crowd at Paul Brown Stadium, which is rare.
Yeah, and I mean, that had, like, to start the game, the Vikings had, 3 or 4 false starts? Like, they were just trying to do their regular cadence, and it wasn't working. They could not sync up. That helped the Bengals defense. That helped the fans get louder when they're like, we're affecting this. And that really set the tone to start the game.
Yeah, and it was fun. And it's an environment I can't wait to be in. I will be there for the Thursday night game, Matt. Are you making it to that Thursday night game?
I don't know about the Thursday night game. I'll definitely be at the Packers game. I was looking at those little 3-pack tickets to try to figure out, do I want the orange pack or the black pack? So we'll see. I'll probably be at half the home games.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I might. If people want to Venmo me so I can buy the $200 ticket just to get my butt in this stadium at Chicago this weekend, that would be great. That would be
There you
great.
go.
Just let me know if you want to help.
Sure, I'll take it out of our 3 a.m. Coney budget.
Yeah, I'm gonna start knocking on doors or something.
Yeah.
I might go get some tattered clothes on, go on a corner, see if I can collect $120 for this Sunday.
I mean, in Chicago, you probably could.
Yeah, if I look sad enough,
throw on an Andy Dalton jersey, and they'll be like, "Oh no, oh this poor guy."
Well, if I were in finance, not in podcasting, I'd probably be at the game this week. But I don't understand numbers all that well. Speaking of numbers, Matt, it's a numbers game for the Cincinnati Reds. They are tied, and they play the Pirates, so it's positive, but yet it has a feeling of doom and gloom. Like the Reds, we got excited too early. They caught them too early. We thought playoffs too early, and I just don't know if I trust a Cincinnati team to execute down the stretch. But they have 9 games against the Pirates, Matt. It feels like they should make it.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was like, okay, there's no chance they're going to make the playoffs, and then they went on an unbelievable run and snuck in. So this year, them being in the playoff picture early, just being able to sneak past the Padres, seeing that they're losing and the Reds are trending up, I don't know if it was getting excited too early or just kind of if we get excited now, maybe they'll keep winning.
Yeah.
and they won't start streaking down. They have lost 5, 6 straight series now against subpar teams. I mean, they have to sweep the Pirates. They have to win every series going out, as far as I'm concerned, and even to have a shot or to. If they don't look good going into the playoffs, it's going to be a repeat of last year where it's like, wow, I wonder if they even score in this series or in this wild card game.
Yeah, honestly, though, I might be more worried about the Cardinals than the Padres at this point. Padres' schedule moving.
Been winning.
Padres just got swept by the Dodgers. Reds play the Dodgers after the Pirates. Padres go on the road to the Giants, then on the road to St. Louis, then back home to play the Giants again, then home against the Braves, then on the road against the Dodgers, and then on the road against the Giants. So that's the Padres stretch. For the Reds, they've got the Pirates. Dodgers is tough. Pirates, Nationals at home, not too tough. On the road against the White Sox, who will already have the division wrapped up at this point. Then a road series at Pittsburgh to end the year. There's frankly no excuse for David Bell, and if they don't make the playoffs, I think that's his job.
Yeah.
The way the schedule shakes out and the talent that you have, Cardinals, just for their schedule, since it's a 3-team race, they're at the Mets, then home against the Padres, then they've got to play the Brewers, they got to play the Cubs, who are hot, then the Brewers again, and then the Cubs again. So the Reds have the most favorable schedule, and that's why they have the highest playoff odds. Yeah, I think if they don't make it now, Matt, that's the end of David Bell, and probably should be the end of David Bell.
Yeah, but I mean they got to win, and Bell has had his few games this year where you're like, I don't understand that decision at all. But really, this is his to lose. I mean, Jesse Winker's supposed to be coming back. The Reds are pretty streaky with their offense. But even if they only win barely over half of these games, they should be able to make the playoffs. But then what they do from that point forward is going to be on David Bell. And it's frankly, after last year, we do not have the hope for them. But everything that they had done in moving past the Padres, there was a lot of hope for this season, and I think that it can be salvaged, but that needs to happen now. They cannot lose any more series like that.
No, the offense has got to get hot, and this is your opportunity. You've got the easy schedule. It's all in front of you. You have Winker coming back. It's just win time. If you want the city to believe in this Reds team, you got to make the playoffs. Because that wild card game would be exciting. It would be legitimate. It would be over a 162-game stretch. If you win that wild card game, it would be the first time a Cincinnati team has advanced in the postseason since 1990, 1995, when the Reds advanced to the postseason to the NLCS. And I would go ahead and count it. And hopefully they can get that playoff game at home, although I don't think they will. No, because they're going to be chasing. They're going to be heading west. That's the problem, is they're going to be on the road against the Giants or the Dodgers if they make the postseason. So that's going to be tough. So that Dodgers series coming up, maybe a playoff preview. A lot of fun stuff, though, Matt. It's at least exciting. And all I asked for at the beginning of the season was that they're playing important baseball games in September, and it's about as important baseball games as this team's had in September. So it is important, and I'm excited for it. All right, man.
It's important. All right, I'm gonna do a quick other Cincinnati sports roundup. I went to the FC Cincinnati game on Saturday. First win in Tickle Stadium. Fantastic. I had a feeling. Got tickets last second. They crushed. Defense looked amazing. Offense, transition. Goalie, Titan was fantastic. That was a great win. Great win for FC Cincinnati. Bearcats won again. That looked tough, 7-7 going into halftime. But they crushed it in the second half. Almost still beat the spread. They are now ranked above the Ohio State Buckeyes at 8-9. So that is fantastic. It's just Cincinnati sports right here, trending up. Great weekend for them. Everything kind of on the cusp where it's either going to be a happy party or heartbreak.
Well, speaking of soccer, because I don't have an outlet to talk about this, do you watch the U.S. men's national team?
I get alerts for them. I'll watch the highlights, but most of the time those games have been at very weird times, so I haven't been watching them as much recently.
Well, let me break it down for you then. They had 2 points. They had tied Canada at home in a must-win game. It looked like they have so much talent, Matt, more talent than the United States team has ever had, and they have more talent in their second 11 than they've ever had ever. Now, they're just young and inexperienced, but they were down 1-0 to Honduras on the road to where they would be 6th out of 8 teams, and they need to be in the top 3 to make the World Cup after the first 3 games, and you'd have to wait till October to play, and they dropped 4 on Honduras' head in the second half. An 18-year-old Ricardo Pepi, who is a dual national between Mexico and the United States, just picked the United States as an 18-year-old 2 weeks ago. In his first start, gets a goal, an assist, and gets a touch on both of the other goals that led to a goal as an 18-year-old striker. If he becomes some elite worldwide striker, this team is going to win a World Cup or at least be in the semifinal come 2026.
That's fantastic.
So if you like the sport, the U.S. men's team, they are fun, they are young, they're exciting, they're going to make mistakes, but I'm the most excited I've ever been about them. But at halftime, Matt, I about drank myself to poison when Honduras was up 1-0. It was horrible. It was horrible. But then, boom, goal, 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 goal. And then we did it. And it's fun. And it's exciting. NFC Cincinnati won, and the Bengals won, and I've been in a better mood than I've been in on a fall Monday in literally 3 years. So
there you go. That was Ted Lasso in the locker room making some halftime adjustments for him there.
Yeah, well, actually, they really did what they should have been doing the whole time. They made 3 subs that were obvious. And I don't know. We'll see about the manager. I don't want to be negative, man. I don't want to be negative.
Keep the positive. Keep the happy Lucas going.
Yep.
The only thing I want to talk about now before we end the show is preview Bengals versus Andy Dalton. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, I hope it's Andy Dalton. If it is Andy Dalton, the Bengals, I think they should win by 2 scores. The Bears have a weak offensive line. The Bengals' improved strength is the defensive line, so they'll be able to really affect the game. If it's not Justin Fields, there's familiarity with Andy Dalton from the Bengals coaching staff. I just think it's going to be very hard for Andy Dalton to move the ball effectively and outscore this Bengals offense that Matthew Stafford just dropped 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on a very high completion percentage. And remember, Zach Taylor is from the Sean McVay tree and is best friends with Sean McVay. So guess who's going to be calling Sean? about the Chicago Bears this morning. It's going to be Zach Taylor. So
what worked? What didn't? What should I do, buddy?
Yeah, like where's their weakness? Where's their strengths? What I'm worried about, Matt, is if they play Justin Fields, because how often does a scrambling, highly talented rookie play a game against the Bengals and just tear them up? I think a lot. I think the Bears would be very, very smart to start Justin Fields' career against the Bengals because it's the exact type of team that he'd be able to have success against with a weak linebacking core, with defensive linemen that are strong but aren't necessarily the fastest across the board. And I think he'd be able to escape some pressure. Would they win? I don't know, but they'd have a much better chance if they started Justin Fields. Don't tell any of
Don't tell them.
Don't tell
If you
them.
are a Bengals or if you are a Bears fan or a part of the Bears organization, do not take any of this information. We are kidding. This is a parody podcast. Play Andy Dalton, and you'll probably beat us. So no.
Honestly, what I think will happen is Andy Dalton's going to come out. We're going to jump up 17-20-0. Justin Fields comes back in, and he makes it real interesting at the end. And everybody's happy leaving the stadium. Bears fans are happy that Justin Fields came in and almost won the game. Bengals fans will be happy leaving the stadium because we actually won the game. And
there you go.
It'll be great for everybody. Bengals 2-0, heading to Heinz Field. And if they win that game, oh, my God, Thursday night, you got to go, Matt. You got to find a way.
I'll go. If they're 3-0 going to, I will definitely go to that game.
Yeah, and we'll have to grab a drink or something. All right, Matt's got Arby's. He's got a munch on, and we've gone over the time that we said, so I think it's best.
I ate my mozzarella sticks, so I still have my my double beef and cheddar here.
Yeah, well, the double beef and cheddar is the best thing on that menu.
I've been smelling it the whole time. So it is. I am happy with everything that happened with Cincinnati sports, and now I'm going to be even happier with the beef and cheddar in my belly.
Oh man, I kind of want a beef and cheddar.
All right, go get one.
Okay. I don't know if I got to go find an Arby's. Not many in the 3-1-2. All right, that for Matt Roden, I'm Lukas Moore. This has been the 3 a.m. Coney. The Bengals are 1-0. The Bengals have more wins than losses. It's been a long time.
Love it.
We love it.
Love to see it. Enjoy your Victory Monday, people. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.